Breaking. Frontline shock. Russian lines buckled. Ukraine surges. Dobropillia. Breach confirmed. The invader reels as our assault groups punch through and torch their strongholds. Commanders flee, surrenders rise. Zaporizhzhia, new assaults fail. Waves of infantry, artillery, drones, and still no breakthrough. Each push ends the same way. Losses. Enemy playbook exposed. Rear areas sabotage, logistics chaos, panic ops. Winter phase is coming and we're already gearing up. Crimea, countdown whispers. Experts hint a pre-winter surprise. The peninsula is restless, Moscow is rattled, and a gift may be on the way. What's next? Let's talk about it. Hello, this is Ukraine Today. I'm Maria Farafonova, and here are the latest news. The show is over. Russian forces are collapsing, the occupiers are encircled in flames, and the casualty numbers are staggering. The armed forces of Ukraine are advancing rapidly. Alexander Syrsky has confirmed a breakthrough on the Dobropillia axis.
Our defense forces have split the so-called Dobropillia salient of the enemy and are doing everything to inflict maximum losses on the Russian occupiers. Over the past 24 hours, control was restored over an additional 2.2 square kilometers of Ukrainian territory. Search and strike actions were also conducted to destroy the enemy across 3 square kilometers in the Pokrovsk district of Donetsk Oblast. Our assault units advanced from 100 meters to 1,400 meters on certain axes. In the fighting here, 52 occupiers were eliminated, and total enemy losses for the day reached 80 personnel. Overall, during the counteroffensive in the Pokrovsk district, 177.8 square kilometers have been liberated, and 198.9 square kilometers have been cleared of saboteurs. As of this morning, total enemy losses on the Dobropillia direction amount to about 3,320 personnel, of which 1,864 are irrecoverable. The occupiers have lost 971 pieces of weapons and military equipment, including 14 tanks, 38 armored fighting vehicles, 202 artillery systems, 5 MLRs, 453 motor vehicles, 61 motorcycles and quad bikes, 1 unit of special equipment, and 197 UAVs.
According to Petro Kuzik, commander of the Svoboda battalion, the enemy tried to break through the defenses of the Dobropillia-Pokrovsk sector, expanding infantry to the maximum. The fighting includes assaults, infiltration attempts, and outbreaks of fire.
The tactics here are quite interesting because they're hybrid. From positional defense, we shift to meeting infantry engagements, and we constantly conduct search and destroy raids to eliminate sabotage groups.
He reported that enemy operatives behind the front line intend to disrupt logistics, spread panic, and destroy units.
Part of the enemy's forces is tasked with infiltrating, bypassing, avoiding direct contact, or, so to speak, flowing around our battle formations to reach the rear, while another part keeps constant pressure, attempting to carry out assault actions.
The commander noted that the enemy also employs artillery and UAVs in battle, and that winter is the most challenging period for infantry, one they are already preparing for.
The situation is tough, but the enemy takes losses daily. Today was no exception. Multiple occupiers and assault groups were eliminated.
Meanwhile, on the Zaporizhzhia sector, the occupiers are once again trying to break through Ukraine's defenses. In recent days, Russian forces have stepped up combat operations, opening a new line of assaults near Stepove. Despite a significant increase in artillery and air power, every attempt to advance has ended in enemy losses. More on the frontline situation in our report up next.
The Russians are opening a new front for an offensive. This concerns the south of Ukraine, specifically the Zaporizhzhia sector. Thus, near Stepnohirsk, in the area of the settlement of Stepne, the enemy has been conducting active assault operations for the past several days. The occupiers are also trying to send their so-called observers to the Dnipro Islands located in the gray zone. Fortunately, all enemy attempts to gain a foothold and deliver ammunition across the river end the same way. For example, the unmanned systems units of the 15th Operational Brigade Karadag have thwarted more than one such attempt. Those few who do manage to cross the river are already being awaited on land by Ukrainian drones. Overall, in the southern operational zone, the enemy is striking with guided aerial bombs and unguided rockets, and is constantly increasing the use of kamikaze drones. Additionally, over the past few days, the occupiers have increased the number of artillery shellings due to worsening weather conditions. In those areas where the occupiers can reach with drones, all the fields and tree lines are strewn with fiber optic cables. For example, this is what the Pokrovsky direction looks like today. The area around is completely covered with fiber optic cables, each one connected to a deadly FPV drone. But despite everything, our soldiers keep working and are carrying out a real hunt for the occupiers. Our drone operators find the enemy everywhere, in buildings, tree lines, and shelters. After that, they give a warm welcome to enemy infantry and equipment. Despite all the Russians' efforts, our soldiers managed to achieve success in certain sectors of the front. Thus, in the Donetsk region, the armed forces of Ukraine stopped the occupiers' advance in one of the directions, stabilized the situation, and are eliminating the remaining saboteurs. In particular, the defense forces have stabilized the situation in Yampol in Donetsk region and are clearing the area of sabotage groups.
Units of the Special Operations Forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine and the National Guard are conducting strike and search operations in the settlement itself to identify and eliminate the remaining enemy sabotage groups.
Syrsky also shared details about the Ukrainian offensive near Dobropillia. There, the armed forces of Ukraine managed to accurately strike several enemy concentrations and partially destroy the occupiers' logistics chain. In certain specific areas, Ukrainian drone pilots are effectively creating roads of death for the enemy. For example, here our UAVs caught up with 2 Russian vans, 6 trucks, and at least 2 armored combat vehicles. The occupiers' losses in this direction over the past day amount to 47 personnel, of which 32 are irrecoverable. Since the beginning of the counter-offensive operation in the Dobropillia direction, the Russians have lost about 3,520 personnel. Of these, at least 2,000 will return to their homeland in coffins. However, despite heavy losses on all fronts, Russian generals have no intention of stopping their meat grinder assaults. On the contrary, together with Putin, they seem to be deliberately trying to send as many Russian contract soldiers to their deaths as possible. For example, the Russians advanced in the Kharkiv region toward 8 settlements at once, according to reports from the Ukrainian General Staff. According to the military, over the past day, Ukrainian forces repelled 12 attacks in the southern Slobozansky direction. And these shots are already from the area near the settlement of Kotlyarivka. As we can see, the Russian helicopter failed to evade the Ukrainian FPV drone. And although the incident itself happened the day before, Russian media have only now published the video of the enemy bird being shot down.
The wind and the choppers are here.
On the Lyman front, while the enemy launched as many as 12 attacks trying to advance near the settlements of Karpivka and Rekivka, fighters from the 3rd Army Corps broke through the occupiers' positions and got behind enemy lines. As a result, the Ukrainian exchange fund has been replenished with a couple of new Russian prisoners.
You're going to kill me.
I won't kill you, damn it! Come out!
Shit, you really won't kill me?
I promise I won't kill you! Come out, damn it, with your hands up!
Shit, I want to live. Seriously, drop your weapon and come out!
You'll be exchanged. You'll go home, idiot!
Shit, how?
Come out, damn it, because you won't get another chance!
However, not all occupiers are lucky enough to be taken prisoner. For example, our reconnaissance drones captured the moment when 2 Russian soldiers in the Sumy region surrendered to the paratroopers of the 30th Separate Airborne Brigade. When their fellow countrymen learned that the Russians were trying to surrender to the Ukrainian armed forces, they decided that Russians do not surrender. And instead of trying to rescue their comrades, they simply took out their own with a drone. At that moment, our soldier was just leading the prisoners to the evacuation point. Fortunately, unlike the occupiers themselves, he was not harmed as a result of the Russian drone strikes.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine today. Join us now.
Crimea isn't quiet either. Ukraine has a knack for surprises, experts say. Is a fresh push on Crimea coming before winter? Crimea looks set to come home and Moscow is rattled. What devastating gifts are ready for the occupiers? Don't miss all the details ahead.
Ukraine may attack Crimea. This bold statement was made by Sky News analyst Michael Clark. And we're not talking about the usual strikes that the defense forces carry out almost every day, but about a large-scale one. According to Clark, Ukraine could launch an airstrike or a naval landing against Russian positions in Crimea. And in his opinion, this will happen before winter.
Ukrainians like to deliver surprises. They know that this affects not only the Russians on the front line, but also the West's perception of how things are going in Ukraine.
The Sky News analyst also believes that given Ukraine's long-range strike capabilities, an attack on the Kerch Bridge cannot be ruled out.
You can create a breach in the air defense shield, and then you'll want to put something through it to hit something even more valuable.
Ukraine has attacked the Kerch Bridge 3 times. In 2022, a truck loaded with about 20 tons of explosives in TNT equivalent was used to strike the crossing. In 2023, the bridge was attacked by combat sea drones. And in 2025, the SBU blew up the Kerch Bridge underwater. Explosives were planted near the key supports. And while the analyst's suggestion of a 4th attack sounds encouraging, official Kyiv is not thrilled about it.
Of course, there's no need to write about this today. These are somewhat different stages of the war. And in general, there's no need to announce intentions in a war that's been going on for almost 4 years. Russia is still investing significant resources in countering Ukraine. We see everything they're doing. I won't comment on offensive operations, it's not entirely appropriate.
Experts and the military are also against such loud statements. They really are working on Crimea. Demilitarization is in full swing, but that's all you need to know.
This is the personal opinion of a private individual who has no connection to the actual state of affairs. The only way to assess such a publication is as an emphasis that Crimea is a temporarily occupied Ukrainian peninsula. It has not only remained on the agenda for our country's defense forces, but is now, I would even say, in active development. Right now, there is an active phase underway to demilitarize temporarily occupied Crimea. All these so-called analytical calculations and forecasts have nothing to do with the actual realities taking place. The current reality is that the defense forces, in particular the main directorate of Ukraine, as you know, the security service of Ukraine, the naval forces, the armed forces of Ukraine, and other related structures are carrying out the necessary work.
This work consists of ongoing targeted operations to destroy Russian radar systems, air defense installations, aircraft, and so on. Ukrainians can witness all of this almost on a daily basis. And this systematic destruction of Russian weaponry is not happening by chance, confirms the spokesperson for the Ukrainian Navy, Dmytro Pletenchuk. This is exactly where it all begins.
If you want to influence the enemy, whether on their territory or on your own territory that the enemy has occupied, the first thing you need to do is eliminate all obstacles. This will allow you to gain an advantage in the air. After all, this in turn also means an advantage on the ground. To achieve this, you need to eliminate the enemy's countermeasures. In other words, destroy their air defense systems. That's why this is the top priority, the starting point for any further action.
But as for what exactly the next action will be, that's not something anyone needs to know. Speculation won't do any good either, especially from Western analysts. There's no need to interfere with the work of the defense forces. And this is a rule that Ukrainians have learned well over nearly 4 years of full-scale war.
The front is brutal indeed. No more cover-up. Putin's forces are cracking. Ukrainian units are shredding the invader. Where the battalion stood, there's only a silent haze of black. Officers run, ranks surrender, and Russia's prestige is reduced to wreckage and ash. Moscow's answer? Pushed another wave of volunteers into hellish assaults. What happens to them on Ukrainian ground? Watch next.
If no one helps you, you'll have to crawl out on your own after a while. They sent us, it turned out, to prison. They talked about the fortress. No, I don't have legs anymore.
From September 19th to October 3rd alone, the Russian army lost more than 1,000 people in the war in Ukraine.
I don't know if I can make it. I don't know. I'll try to crawl out. I had to walk about 20 kilometers. My head is spinning.
Russia's losses are terrible. The economy is bursting at the seams, but Putin is ready to make even greater sacrifices. Now, in a harsh manner, they're even demanding that businesses help with recruiting people for the front.
Just private hospitality. That is, he won't come. It knows that people won't support it, and that their city could become famous for this.
Independent journalists, using open sources, have identified the names of 134,125 Russian soldiers who died during the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. This data allows us to track a kind of pulse of the war. When the Kremlin didn't spare its own people and launched massive assaults for the sake of capturing another village in Ukraine.
Our commanders make unreasonable decisions, sending us to certain death. There are just so many different kinds of deadly threats there. There are FPV drones and Baba Yaga drones. All kinds of weapons are being used, mortars, artillery. And there's no cover at all. They just send us out into the open. And now the guys are digging their own graves.
In the first year and a half, the casualty chart looked like a roller coaster. That was during the Russian assault on Bakhmut and Avdiivka.
You could always see a holiday at the gates. The Angel of Light will introduce you. The enemy is already too scared to even bark.
The Russian Ministry of Defense, led back then by Shoigu, was burying 100 to 150 people a day. Sometimes the numbers dropped to 50 to 60 killed per day.
Since
October 23rd, the curve has remained consistently high. It only dips below 120 in rare cases. And the recent dips on the charts are explained not by the rescue of Russian troops, but by the time needed to verify and process new obituaries.
Our guys went through hell in captivity. Numerous tortures and abuses. Most have shrapnel wounds and concussions, fractures that healed without medical intervention, and one of them is missing a leg. They all need medical help to go through the military medical commission and ultimately a leave, but instead, these sick men are being sent back to the front lines.
In terms of geography, Bashkortostan and Tatarstan lead in the number of their citizens killed in the war. Here, local volunteers help identify the deceased.
In our area, over 15 years, during the war in Afghanistan, there were maybe 3 or 4 people killed. And now, just take a moment to look at what is truly happening all around us. Everything, absolutely everything, is completely covered in flags.
A special category is the volunteers, those who signed a contract back in 2022. Right now, they make up almost a third of all identified casualties, 29%.
It turns out that's just one particular side. That's indeed the main factory for 2 distinct purposes. They've started a new burial site.
The Kremlin is disposing of those who went to war voluntarily, who fell for the propaganda. Prisoners make up the second largest casualty category. They account for 14%. Some of the dead are officially listed as volunteers, not as convicts.
Today, there are those in places of confinement who love their families. There's a good chance this is proven by those who signed contracts from places like Rosnovoban.
Mobilized soldiers make up 11% of the list. This figure is understated because obituaries often conceal their status.
Do you understand? The families understand? For everyone who shouldn't be shot, you have to hide their status to protect those who are being hidden. Mention a couple of 500ers. Just mention them right there. According to martial law, this is not an order.
One of the important categories of losses is Russian officers who knowingly went to kill Ukrainians for the sake of medals on their chests. Journalists have counted 5,847 dead. And that's with exact names, including about 150 colonels and as many as 12 generals.
We lived, we existed, but not here, all of us. We rejoiced, we grieved, and then boom. And the guys went off to die.
For the Russian army, this is a painful blow because their entire system relies precisely on officers. They coordinate the interaction of different units and accordingly give joint orders for strikes on Ukraine. So what are the real numbers?
Actually, our Putin got involved in this. People have died. Didn't you get the message? The message is, as they say, to raise your time.
What can be seen from open sources covers only 45 to 65% of the actual losses. So the list of 134,000 is just the tip of the iceberg, which Putin is desperately trying to hide. Currently, Ukraine counts over 1,100,000 Russian losses. This list includes both the wounded and the missing. Even the so-called LDNR stopped publishing data about their losses since December 2022. In fact, according to statements by the BBC and Mediazona, the number of Russian military killed could exceed 300,000. This does not include the bodies that still remain on the battlefield. The number is truly enormous.
The flags are hanging. In general, there are a lot. Guys, there will be a huge number of dead. They tell me that when we finally learn the whole truth about their numbers, the entire country will be shocked.
The Russian army, which has already lost hundreds of thousands of people, continues to fight. So-called volunteers and convicts are filling the personnel shortages. Officers are dying faster than they can be trained. And now the death statistics have become the main indicator of success for the world's second army.
What do you think about the latest events? Share your opinion in the comments, like the video, and stay informed about the main headlines. More to come.